Encrypting File System (EFS). The encrypting file system was first introduced in Windows 2000 and is still available in all versions of Windows 10, 8 or 7 except for a home version. So under home version you will not see this EFS encrypted file system, but other versions of Windows 7, 8 and 10 we can see this. It is still there because it is available since 2000 and it is still available. Now this EFS is similar to encryption by BitLocker. BitLocker is also one of the feature which used to encrypt and secure the data, and it allows encrypting separate files and folders while BitLocker works with the entire disk. EFS is not a full-fledged file system but an add-on based on NTFS and allowing to encrypt particular files on the fly. So this EFS allows you to encrypt a single file or even a folder, but BitLocker will allow you to encrypt the whole drive. It is not a file system, it is extension of the NTFS file system. So in NTFS file system we get lots of features like security, compression and also encryption. So this is one of the feature of NTFS file system. Then encryption keys are connected to a Windows user account, so other users of the same PC won't be able to access the encrypted data. That means when it is encrypting the data, so for decrypting the data, it uses the user's account key. So for encrypting the data, it uses the user account key. That means to decrypt the data also it needs the same user account key. So if other user logs into the system and it try to open the same data, it is not allowed to open because it is unlocked, it is locked by the other user's key. So this user's key will not work. So EFS encryption does not provide comprehensive protection as in case with BitLocker. First of all, the system stores the encryption key locally, so intruders can get access to them, and there is also a chance of secret data being stored in system temporary or auxiliary files which are not encrypted. So it is not that secure. That is why BitLocker is introduced, because the key for the encryption it is stored locally on the system. So if hackers steal the system, it can steal the key also. Then EFS is not available for home versions of Windows 8, 7 or 10. After the files are encrypted, the system will automatically create a backup key to let you have access to data if you have problem with logging into the system and you can't sign in your account. Now remember, when you encrypt the data with using the EFS, so your key is the account. That means your user account is the key. Now if suppose you are not able to log into the system, then the data will never be decrypted, and that means the data will be not used and other users will not be able to use the data. So user account is the key for that data when you encrypt any data with some user account. So if you lose the user account, if you are not able to sign in, you forgot the password, or maybe somebody deleted your account, then it is very hard, or it is almost you can't recover the data which is encrypted. So when you do encrypt the data, automatically it will promote you to create the backup key. Backup key will help you to decrypt the data in case of your user account is not able to log in. So if you are not able to log in with the user account, then you can use that backup to decrypt the data. Now how to enable this encrypted file system in Windows 10? Let me show you that. Now here I have logged in with the normal user account. So I have logged in with this normal user account here. Now this is the normal user account. Now this normal users can also do encrypt its own data. It can encrypt the data. If it is having a permission on the data, it is created by this user, then it can do encrypt the data. Administrators can encrypt the data. Administrator can also encrypt its own data. But administrator cannot decrypt other users' data. Remember, it cannot decrypt because it is encrypted by that user account key. So if you are having a security, then security can be taken over, but encryption cannot be. Like for example, I am logged in. I have logged in as a normal user. So I'll go to this my computer. I will go to C drive here. Now I will create one folder for me where I want to put my secret files. So I am this user. Now under this directory I want to keep my secret files. So I put my important files here. I have some data here under the file. This is important. Now suppose I want to save my file. I don't want anyone to see this. So what I can do, I can secure it. Now securing it by the permissions, by the NTFS permission, I can do that because I have created the data. I am the owner of the data, so I can go to the properties and I can go to the security, and then I can do secure the data. I can disallow everyone. Like I will go edit here. I will say administrators should be denied. They should not be open the data. Now remember, administrators, I am denying the administrator. It says you are denying someone, so allow and deny will be there. So allow, deny will work. So I say yes, okay, and okay. Now remember, I have denied the administrator. I can deny any other user, but I can also deny administrator. But this is not like it is secure. Now when administrators log in, now let's log in as an administrator. So I will sign out from here and I will log in as an administrator. Now I am logging in as an administrator here. Now I have denied the administrator to access my data, but still administrator can access my data because it can take over the permissions, NTFS permissions. Whether it is not having a permission, but it can still take the permission because it is an administrator. But encryption it cannot take over, like it will not able to decrypt the data of other users. Permissions it can, but encryption it cannot be because the encryptions are done on the user's account key. Now this administrator is going into C drive. Now it will try to open the data here. This is the directory. It is saying that you don't currently have permission to access this folder. Now it says click continue to permanently get access to this folder, and you can click here to get the permanent access. Now who can get the access permanently is administrator. You see this shield symbol here, that means this job can only be done by administrator. If suppose this user has denied someone else, some other normal user, the permission, so that user cannot be take over the permission. It cannot take the permanent for permission for get access of this file because it is his the other user is not the administrator. So when the other user clicks on this, the normal user clicks on it, it will ask the permission for administrator. But this user logged in as an administrator, so it can go click on continue. And it says you have been denied permission to access this folder. Now it says to gain access to this folder, you will need to use the security tab. So I say okay, I will need to go to security tab. Security tab, that means right click and go to the properties, and go to the security tab. Now here you can see it is saying you must have read permission to view the properties of this object. So it is still not showing anything because this administrator is also not having any read permission, but it says click advance to continue. Now because this user is administrator, it can click on advance and it can see here that you have to have read permission, but you can go on to click continue. So it can click continue and it says that there is no permission here for administrator. Now this administrator can do what? It can directly change the ownership. It click on the change and it will add himself here. Now this can be done by only administrator. Replace ownership of subcontainers and objects. That means inside the folder, if you have any other folder and files, it will be owned by the administrator. You will say apply and it says all permission will be replaced if you press yes. Replace means the permissions of that user will be removed and this administrator will become owner. You have been taken the ownership and it is successfully taken the ownership because it is the administrator. Now it can take the permission here. After taking the ownership, it will go again into the security tab and now you can see it sees here and it has now all the controls. Now it is the now this directory is owned by the administrator now, and it can open the directory, it can see anything now. So it can now open the directory, it can see the content also. Okay, this one is still remaining. So it can take the ownership of this file also, just like the directory. So administrator now can do what it wants to do because it's a permission. But if you want to take the ownership, take the control of encrypted file system, you can't do that because the encryption is done on the basis of the user, on the key of the user account. So you can't this administrator, even the administrator cannot recover the file, it cannot see the file because it is encrypted by the key of that user account. So now it has allowed himself for this file also, and now it can open the file. So this is what administrator can do. It can take the ownership of any files and folders, and it can see those files anytime when it wants. But when the users encrypt the file system, encrypt the folder, encrypt the data, then it will not be decrypted by administrator also. Administrator can also encrypt its own data and no one else can open the data. Now I will log in again as that user, and I will now, this time I will not use security. I will do what? I will encrypt the data now. So this time I will again log in with the same user. This time I will use encryption. Now I logged in as that user. Now I will go to again this directory. Now this time I have no permission on that directory because the administrator has taken over all the permissions. So when I try to open the directory, now this time it is saying that you are not having any permission. And if you want to have a permission, then you can take it by using this permanent access. Now if this user try to click on continue, it cannot do that. It is asking the permission for administrator because this user is the normal user. So it cannot do that ownership thing. Now user will do what? it will create the data and it can do encrypt. Now encryption cannot be recovered by any other user. So this time I will do encrypt the data. So it is my important data and I will create a file inside it. And I will type this is security files and save, and now I will encrypt it. Now for using the EFS, for encrypting it, right click on that directory or file, go to property, remember directory or file both. If you want to encrypt single file, then you have to go to each and every file to encrypt it, and if you want to encrypt all together, so you directly encrypt them from the directory. But remember that directory encryption can be removed. If user administrator try to remove the encryption, then it can remove the encryption of the folder. So you have to apply the encryption on the file directly. But if you are having multiple files, then you can use to apply on directory and it will apply on the file also. I will show you what the option. So you will go to, in the journal, we will go to advanced, and here we have option to encrypt contents to secure data. So when you click this, and it will say, when you click this and press OK, it will be encrypted. Now when I press apply, it asks me this thing. It says apply changes to this folder only. Now if I applied it only on this folder, then only this folder will be encrypted. All the files inside the folder will not be encrypted. And this encryption can be removed by administrator or any other user, maybe if it is having a permission. So I will always apply this to this folder and subfolders and all the files. So I want to apply the encryption all the files inside this directory, this folder. So I will always choose this. Otherwise I have to go to each and every file to do the encryption, the same way I'm doing here. So I'm using this option to apply all the files on all the files in one option. So I'll apply it by using this option. Now when I do this, it gives me this option here. It says backup your file encryption key. This helps you avoid permanently losing access to your encrypted file. So as I said, when you do encrypt any file with this EFS, it will automatically give you option to backup the data, backup the key. Because if you lose the key, then you will lose permanently the data. So if your account is loose, then you permanently lose the data. So it is giving you here a warning that you should take the backup of your key. So if you click on this, it is still here. So when you click on that option, it will show you this wizard. It shows that backup your file encryption certificate and key. And for taking up the backup, it says backup now. It is recommended to take the backup right now, because if you forgot to take the backup, then you may lose your data. You can even say backup later. That means Windows will remind you the next time you logged on. So when the next time you logged on, again it will remind you that you have not taken the backup and you should take the backup. Now if you say never backup, then you could lose access to your encrypted files. It is not like that. It will just not notify you. It will not remind you anymore. But still we can take the backup if it is not reminding us. That means when I select this, it will backup now. When I select backup later, then it will always next time it will remind me same way like it did right now when I next time log in. And if I select never backup, then it will not remind me anytime. So it will say like, if I'm not reminding you, then maybe you don't take the backup and you may lose the data. But if it is not reminding you, then still we can take the backup. There is other option to take the backup, not like not you have to take it here from here. If you have forgot to take it from here, then also you can take it from the other option. So I will not take it from here. If you want, then you click on this and it will give you this wizard to take the backup, and you follow the wizard to take the backup of your key. But I will not do it from here. I will do it from the main option. I will show you later. Now it has been encrypted. Now when you open it, you can open this. You can see the small lock there on the file. So I will show you. I will increase the size of this. You can see this small encrypted lock here. That means the file is encrypted. So when you open this, you can open it because it is locked with your account key. But if any other user logs in, they cannot open it. Now let's see, I will log in as an administrator and let's see what we can do from there. So I will log out from here and I will log in as an administrator. I logged in as an administrator here. Now when I go here under the C drive, now this is the directory. Now see, the directory is also encrypted, but when user administrator opens it, it opens the directory. Because directories can be opened, it is not applying the encryption on the directory basically. Now it try to open this file. It says you don't have permission. It is not like it is not having a permission. Permission is always there. Administrator has all the permissions, but still it cannot see the data because the data is encrypted. If it is see here, if it checks here the property in the security, it sees that administrator has all the permissions here to do anything because administrators have, but still it cannot open the file because it is encrypted. Now no matter of taking ownership, if it is taking the ownership, still no problem. It is already there. It is permissions are already there. It is only the encryption which is strong. Administrator also open the data. So if the administrator is not able to open, then any user cannot be open. Now administrator can do what? It will try to decrypt. So right click on the directory and I will try to decrypt it. Now for decrypting it, again you will go to the properties and advanced. And here I will try to remove this checkbox and I will say OK, and when I press apply, it says, do you want to remove it from everywhere? I say yes. Now you will see the error here. It says an error occurred applying attribute to the file. That means this file. It is not asking for the directory. So directories can be removed. It is actually not applying on the directory. So if I try again, it will not be successful. If I ignore, that means the directory is encrypted. Directory is already always there. It is not working. The encryption is not working on the directory, but the file is still remain encrypted. So this is what encryption, EFS. So when the user encrypts, the encryption done on the basis on the keys of user account, and user only that user can open the data and any other user cannot open the data, not even an administrator. Now if that user itself not able to log in, if that user is itself not able to log in, that means nobody can open the data. And for that that user must take the backup of the key. So if in case suppose the user is not able to log in, then it can what? It can use the key. Other users can use the key to open that data. So in that way you will not lose the data. And even user can do what? It can share the data with other users by sharing the key. So if the user wants to share the data with other user, then it will take the backup of the key and share the key with other users. I will log in as a other user. Now first I will show you login as a other user, that other user can also not open. Other user is like, I will use this user. Now this user is also a normal user. Now this user will also try to go there in a C drive, and this is the directory. See, it can also open the directory, but when it try to open the data, it is not allowing because it is encrypted. And this user cannot be, it cannot also decrypt because it is not having any permissions. It is the normal user. So it is also not able to open the data. Now the data is encrypted by the other user. Now that user can do what? It can take the backup of the key for the security of the data. Like if the user account is not accessible, then anyone can access the data by using that key. And also it can use the key to share the data with other user. For example, that user wants to share the data with this user. Like this is the user. This user has encrypted the file. Now this user wants to share the data with this user. So this user will do what? It will take the backup of key, and it can give the key to that user which it wants to share the data. Now I will show you how you can take the backup of key. So I will log in with this user who encrypted the data, and I will take the backup of key. Now when I logged in here, you can see it is not showing me to take the backup of key because I cancelled that. So it is like I said, never take a backup. But how you will take the backup, I will show you. So for taking the backup of your data which you have encrypted, you can go to the properties of that file. Oops. And this one is already decrypted from the administrator, the directory, but the file is still encrypted. So I will go to the properties of this file, advanced, and this is still encrypted, and only this user can remove this tick successfully. It can remove the tick because it is the same user who has encrypted the data. Now I don't want to decrypt the data, I want to take the backup of key. So I'll go to details here. Now under the detail I can see this, that users who can access this file and this user who can access the file. Now I can add some user here by giving them to share the file access with other users. Select their certificate from the list and click OK. So I can add other user certificate to this file. This is the certificate, so that we can that user can also. But I will do what? I will use this users first. I have shared first that user who wants to access this data, that user certificate must be there. So I will share this certificate with other user. So for that I will take the backup of this certificate key by using this option, backup keys. So I will click on this and it opens the same wizard which that pop-ups gives us. So this is the wizard to take the backup of your certificate key. You will click next, and this is the key, personal information exchange, PKCS. This is the version. The file extension will be PFX. It says include all certificate in the certificate path if possible, enable certificate privacy, and export all extended certificate if you want. So default is good. Next. Now it is asking you to secure your certificate. That means when you are taking the backup of your certificate, it is not like anyone can use that certificate. You have to secure it, and you can secure it by these two options. You can secure it by using the by adding the user and group accounts directly here, and it is recommended. Now this option is not available because this option will be available when you are in the domain. When you are in the domain, Active Directory domain, when your machine is member of the Active Directory domain, then you can use this option. You can allow some users directly. You can add those users or groups directly here who can use this key. So only those users can open this key and install this key. Other users cannot install this key. So you in this way you don't have to tell everyone that what is the key password. The other way is to use the key password. And key password means if I use the key password, so I have to tell the user who I want to give this access, I have to tell the password to that user. And telling the password is not secure. If someone hears your password, if someone gets your password, then he can also access the key. But this is the secure way. It is recommended, but it is only available when you are in Active Directory domain. So you can allow the Active Directory domain users or groups directly from here. They don't have to use password for using the certificate. They just log in and they can use the key. Now I don't have Active Directory domain, so I will go with this option because it is the local machine. And remember, if I don't use the password, it will not allow me to go next. I have to secure my key, otherwise it will not allow me to use backup. So I will use this, and I will use the backup key. I will use a password 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. And try to use a complex password. I am using simple one. Next. Then it says where you want to put this key. So I will go on to browse, and I will put the key where everyone can get access of this key, or the user which I want to give the access, that user can have access on this location. So I will go to C drive and I will use it on, let's say I will use it on this directory. Here I will store the key. Now here I will name the key. Now remember, this key is for all the data which is encrypted by this user. Next, and this is the information what you are exporting, and finish, and the export was successful. Now this is the way you have taken the backup of your key. And where is the backup? So it is under this C drive and this site, and this is the key. So this key can be used by other users to access your encrypted file system. So now I will log in as a other user. So I am logging with this normal user. It is not an administrator. Now this user try to access the file again. Again, it is not able to access the file. Now because it does not have the key, it has not installed the key. So for accessing the file, it will go to this. So this user will do what? It will go to this directory where the key is. So this is the key. Now it wants to install this key to access the data. So when it double clicks on it, it asks that welcome to the certificate import wizard. The user has exported the certificate. Now this user wants to import the certificate. Now it says store the location for current user or local machine. Now the certificates are for two. There are two types of certificate. One is for the local user and other one is for the local machine. But this one is the local, this is the user certificate. So I am going to install it for the current user. Next, now it is giving the path, which is the certificate path where it is the certificate is. So it is already there. We have double clicked this certificate, so it is showing the path there. Then next, now it is asking for the password. Now remember, we have protected the certificate with the password, so that's why it is asking that password. Now if the user does not know the password, it cannot install the certificate. So if user does not know the certificate, the password, then it cannot use the certificate. And only the users who knows the password, they can use the certificate and they can install the certificate. Now who will tell the password? It is the person who assigned the password. So the user who encrypted the data, the user who's given the taken the backup of that key, he knows the password. So this user wants to access this data, so he has to get the password from that user. So the user will share the password with this user because he wants to share the data and he knows the password. Now the password is 1 2 3 4 5 6. So when it knows the password, it can give the password, go to next, and then it says where you want to store the certificate. So it will be automatically selected the location. Otherwise, if you want, then you can select the path. There are different stores of certificate. These are different certificate folders we have in local machines. So you can select where you want to store the certificate, but you can choose automatically. So based on the type of certificate, it will automatically choose the store of certificate and it will store that in that directory. So I will set automatically and next and finish. Now the certificate is imported successfully. Now when this user wants to go, now this user will go and check it can see the data or not. Now you can see it is still encrypted. It is still encrypted, but when this user wants to open the data, it can open the data now and it can see the data now, because it has the certificate to decrypt the data. So anyone who wants to decrypt the file which is encrypted by other user, they have to have the certificate key for that user, to decrypt it. Otherwise they cannot decrypt, not even an administrator also. So even administrator logs in and it will try to decrypt it, it will not able to decrypt because they don't have a key. So this is administrator and it is still not able to access because it is not having the key. But if the key is there, so if suppose the user account is deleted and now the data is not accessible because the user account is deleted, accessible, so you will lose the data, but we have the backup key. So administrator can do what, or any other user can do, decrypt the file by using this certificate key. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now this administrator can also open the file, and that is why it is called backup key. It is for the backup. Now implementing and managing BitLocker. Now BitLocker helps protect against the data theft or exposure on computers that are lost or stolen. It also offers more secure data deletion when you decommission computers. Data on a lost or stolen computer is valuable, vulnerable to unauthorized access. So either by a malicious user who is running a software attack tool against it, or by someone transferring the computer's hard disk to a different computer. So there are different ways to get the data when you lose the machine. Like if someone hackers get the access of your machine, they have stole your machine. So they can do what? They can use your hard disk to connect your hard disk in a different machine to get the data, or they can use a different type of tools, software tools, to get the access of your data. Now your data is important. So for securing the data, we have BitLocker. Now first, what is BitLocker? BitLocker provides protection for an operating system and the data is stored by the operating system volume and other volumes on the computer. Additionally, it helps ensure that data that is stored on a computer remains encrypted, and even if someone tampers with the computer when the operating system is not running. So BitLocker provides a closely integrated solution in Windows 10 that addresses the threats of data theft or exposure from lost, stolen or computers that are decommissioned incorrectly. BitLocker encrypts the data that is stored on the operating system and other volumes by providing the offline data protection, protecting all data stored in the on the encrypted volume, verifying the integrity of early startup components and boot configuration data, ensuring integrity of the startup process. Then BitLocker 2 Go allows encryption of removable media such as USB drives also. So there is BitLocker 2 Go also, which is used to encrypt the USB drives also, or removable storage also. Now it will provide the offline data protection. That means when your operating system is not running, if your machine is not running, still your data is encrypted. That means if some hacker is trying to remove the hard disk from your machine and try to connect the hard disk in another machine, still it will not able to decrypt it because it is encrypted by the BitLocker. Now when you compare it with the EFS, so BitLocker functionality encrypts volume, the entire operating system volume, including the Windows system files and the hibernation files, everything. And EFS functionality is only encrypts files, does not require user certificate. It does not require the user certificate here in BitLocker, but EFS requires the user certificate to encrypt and decrypt. This BitLocker protects the operating system from modification. It also protects the operating system. That means if someone or some software some hackers tool try to modify the operating system to get the access, so they can do that because it is also supported secure by the BitLocker. But EFS does not protect the operating system from modification. Then device encryption. Device encryption is a built-in Windows 10 feature. By default, device encryption protects the operating system drives and any fixed data drives on the system by using the advanced encryption standard, that is AES, and also it uses it in 128-bit encryption. Remember, the higher the bit, the harder the encryption, and it is the harder to decrypt also. So which uses the same technology as BitLocker, and you can use device encryption with the Microsoft account or a domain account. So you can encrypt your device by using your Microsoft account or even a domain account, and it is just like the BitLocker. Then BitLocker 2 Go. Now BitLocker 2 Go is when a laptop is lost or stolen. The loss of data typically has more impact than the loss of the computer asset. So as more people use removable storage devices, they can lose data without losing a computer also. So you are keeping your data in your removable drive, flash drive. So you don't have to lose the whole laptop or whole PC. Even if you lose that USB flash, you can lose your important data. So BitLocker 2 Go provides the encryption, enhanced protection against data theft and exposure by extending BitLocker support to removable storage devices such as USB drives. So you can manage BitLocker 2 Go by using group policy from Windows PowerShell and by using the BitLocker Drive Encryption Control Panel app. In Windows 10, users can encrypt their removable media by opening File Explorer, right-clicking the drive and then clicking Turn on BitLocker. Users then can choose a method with which unlock the drive, including using the following methods. So when you encrypt the data with BitLocker, you have two options to decrypt. You can use it password. This is the combination of letters, symbols and numbers that our user will enter to unlock a drive, or you can use the smart card. In most cases, an organization issues a smart card and a user enters the smart card pin to unlock the drive. Now to requirement. This is a requirement to use the BitLocker first. So in Windows 10, Windows 8.1 and Windows 7, BitLocker automatically prepares drives for use. As a result, there is no need to create separate partition before turning on BitLocker. Now this is an important improvement over BitLocker in Windows Vista, which required users to partition their hard drive manually. Now you can use BitLocker to encrypt operating system drives, fixed data drives and removable data drives. In Windows 10, when you use BitLocker with data drives, you can format the drive with the extended file system allocation table, that is exFAT, FAT32 or NTFS file system. But the drive must have at least 64 MB of available disk space. So if you want to decrypt the data drive where it is data, then you can format it with these file system, but at least you have to have 64 MB free space so that it can put the information about BitLocker. Then when you use BitLocker with the operating system drive, you must format the drive with the NTFS file system. That means if you want to encrypt the partition which is having the operating system installed, then you have to have it formatted as NTFS. Then BitLocker stores its own encryption and decryption key in the hard drive hardware device that is separated from the hard disk. So therefore you must have one of the following. Now for decrypting and for encryption key or decryption key, BitLocker stores in a different hardware device. That hardware device is separate than your hard disk. So it is not going to store it in the same hard disk which is it encrypting. So it uses a separate hardware device for it. That device is called TPM. So a computer with TPM 1.2 or newer, so you can use you can do the encryption, you can use the BitLocker. Now if your machine is not having TPM, this is trusted platform module. It is a hardware chip which is inbuilt into the motherboard of your laptop or even in a desktop also. So if you are having this chip and that is more than newer than 1.2 version, then you can use the BitLocker. Now if suppose you are not having this, then you can use the removable USB memory device such as USB flash drive. So if you have to have TPM device chip, TPM chip under your machine, or you can use the USB flash for storing the key of the BitLocker. Now what is the hardware requirement? To turn on BitLocker, a computer must have a hard drive space necessary for Windows 10 to create two disk partitions, one for the operating system volume and one for the system volume. So operating system volume, that means this partition includes the drive on which you install the Windows, and BitLocker encrypts this drive. And system volume means a second partition is created as needed when you enable the BitLocker in Windows 10, and this partition must remain unencrypted so that you can start the computer, and this partition must be at least 100 MB, and you must set it as the active partition. Now this, when you do the encryption on the operating system drive, so what BitLocker will do, it will create two partition for it. So you have to have at least 100 MB space for that partition. Now in previous versions like in Vista, you have to create this partition manually, but now it will do it for us automatically, and that drive is called system volume, and it will not be encrypted by BitLocker. The operating system drive will be encrypted, and this drive will be used to boot our system, and then after booting it will ask the password for the BitLocker, and when you put the password rightly, then your machine will start. Otherwise your machine will not start because your operating system drive is encrypted. So you have to provide the right key to decrypt the operating system, and this system volume is used to start the system first and ask the key. Now key you can store it in TPM chip, or you can store it in USB. So if you store it in USB, then you have to connect the USB to decrypt it, or if it is a TPM chip, then automatically it will decrypt from the TPM chip. You don't have to put the password and you don't have to put the key manually. Now have a BIOS or Unified Extensible Firmware Interface, that is UEFI. So you have to have a BIOS which is UEFI environment that is compatible with TPM or supported USB drives during computer startup. So when you start the computer, you have to have the TPM chip where you store the key, or you have to have the USB device. So the BIOS must be compliant with the Trusted Computing Group. This is TCG. It must be compliant with the Trusted Computing Group. Then set to start first from the hard disk, not the USB or CD drive. So you have to start your machine normally from hard disk. You don't have to start it from USB drive or CD drive. Able to read from the USB flash drive during the startup. So if you have stored the key in the flash drive, then it must have to read from the drive. It has to be able to read the drive, USB drive, during the startup. Now what are the modes of BitLocker? So Windows 10 support two modes of BitLocker operation. One TPM mode and other is non-TPM mode. Now TPM mode means logs the normal startup process until a user optionally supplies the personal PIN and or insert a USB drive that contains a BitLocker startup key. Perform system integrity verification on startup components. So because you are having the TPM key, so it logs the normal startup process until a user optionally supplies the personal key. So if you have used the personal key for it, otherwise it will log the normal startup process. Then performs user integrity verification on startup also. So it will system verify, it will check the system integrity when your machine starts. Now non-TPM mode, where there is no TPM, then it uses a group policy to allow BitLocker to work without a TPM. Now if your machine is not having a TPM, then in first place you are not able to encrypt your C drive, your operating system drive. Now if you want to do that, then you have to change some policies from group policy object. Then it logs the startup process similar to TPM mode, but the BitLocker startup key must be stored on the USB drive. So you have to store the key under the drive, and that drive must be connected when you are starting the machine. It provides the limited authentication. It also provides the limited authentication. So it is good to use the TPM mode, and it is good to have a TPM mode, a TPM key in your machine. Now using the group policy setting to configure the BitLocker. So group policy provides following setting for BitLockers. Turn on BitLocker backup in ADDS. That means we can take the backup of BitLocker key into Active Directory services. That means Active Directory services domain. So if your machine is under the domain, then you can take the backup of key under the domain. So anyone, the domain administrator, can recover your data. Configure the recovery folder on control panel setup. So you can configure the recovery folder on control panel setup by using the group policy. It can enable advanced startup options on control panel setup. We can configure the encryption method from group policy. Then prevent memory overwrite on restart. Then we can configure the TPM validation method used to seal BitLocker's key. So these settings we can configure from group policy. Now group policy is available when you are under the domain. When you are in the local machine, then you use the local group policy. and this is the group policy setting to enable the BitLocker when you are not having a TPM chip. Now let's first try to encrypt the normal drive without operating system drive. Now I want to enable BitLocker. So first you have to check whether you are having the TPM chip in your system or not. So for that, what you will do, you will go to device manager, right click on start, go to device manager. Now under the device manager, you will see the security thing. You will see the security tab there. Now there is no security it is showing here because there is no TPM chip available in my machine here. So if it is there, it will look like this is another machine. Now this machine has the TPM chip available. So if your TPM chip is there, then it will show is this security device in device manager, and when you open this, you will see this trusted platform module, and you will see the version also. So this is what TPM, this is the hardware component, it is the hardware chip. So it is what trusted platform module 2.0, and what we need is minimum 1.2. So in this machine I can use the BitLocker on a C drive, but in this machine I can't use it. Now in this machine I don't have a TPM chip available, so I cannot use BitLocker on the C drive. Now what drives I have here? So I have only one drive here. I have only operating system drive, so I cannot enable the encryption BitLocker on this drive because I am not having the TPM key. Now if I right click, if you want to enable the BitLocker, very simple, you right click on the drive and you have option to enable the BitLocker. Turn on BitLocker. Now when I do this, it gives me this error. It says that this device can't use the trusted platform module. So your administrator must set the allow BitLocker without a compatible TPM option in the require additional authentication at startup policy of OS volume. That means these are the policies we have to enable from group policy to use the BitLocker without TPM chip. But if I am having another drive other than the operating system drive, I don't need to have a TPM. I can encrypt that drive. So what I will do, I will create some drives here first. So I will go to device manager, disk management, and I will create one partition here. I will shrink this C drive to make some space. And then I will use those space to create a new drive. So I'm going to shrink it to 10 GB. Now I will create new volume with this 10 GB, 5 GB, and also 5 GB. Now I will use to encrypt these drives by using the BitLocker. So I will go here. Now these are the drives. I right click on it and I will go to turn on the BitLocker. Now you see I can turn on the BitLocker on these drives because these are not operating system drives. Now it says choose how you want to unlock these drives. So it is giving me option that how you want to unlock the drive. So use a password to unlock or use a smart card to unlock the drive. Now for smart card you need you need to insert your smart card. The smart card pin will be required when you unlock the drive. So this smart card means you have to have a smart card device and the smart card. So when you insert the smart card and use the pin, then only you can decrypt it. In an organizations, they use this smart card to decrypt the drives, but I will use normal password here. So I will use the password 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and this is the password I will use to decrypt the drive. Next, now it is saying that how do you want to backup your recovery key. Now in case you forgot the password, so in case you forget the password, you can lose the drive. So if you don't want to lose the drive, then you should take the backup of your key. So in case you lose the password, you don't remember the password, then you can recover your drive by using this key. Now it says how you want to take the backup of your key. You can save your key in your Microsoft account. This is a good option because when you save it in your Microsoft account, that means it will be linked with your Microsoft account which you are logged in here. Right now I am not logged in with any Microsoft account, but when I save this key in my Microsoft account, I can get this key anytime, anywhere, and I don't have to separately manage the key. But you can have another option also, that you can save the key to file. You can even save the key to file, and you have to keep safely that file and in the safe location. So whenever you lose the password, or you remember the password, then you can use that key which is saved in the file, or even you can directly print out the recovery key. You can save it in the file in your machine, or you can recover, you can take the printout of that key, and whenever it requires, you can enter it. So I am going to do what? I am going to save it to file. Now it is asking me that this is the key and where you want to keep that key. So I will try to keep it on this drive, which is I am encrypting. It says this location can't be used because your recovery key can't be saved to an encrypted drive. Choose a different location. So you should not save your key under the same drive which you are encrypting, because when you lose the password, you lose the key also. So it is not recommended. So now I will try to store it in another partition. I will try to store it in this partition, this drive. Now again it is saying this location can't be used. Your recovery key can't be saved in the root directory of a non-removable drive. Choose a different location. That means you have to have one partition, at least one folder under the drive. You can't store it directly on root. So I created one folder. Now under this folder I will store my key. So the key is stored in F drive and I am encrypting E drive. Next, now it is saying that choose how much of your drive to encrypt. So you have two options. Encrypt use disk space only. This will be the faster and best for the new PC and drive. And encrypt the entire drive, that means slower but best for PCs and drives already in use. So if your drive is already in use, that means you are having some data in that. So you will choose this one, and it will go slow, depend on the data, but it will encrypt all the data also. But if you are having the new drive, then there is no data in that, then you can choose this one. It will be fast because there is no data, but it is good for only the new drives. If you use this option for existing drive, then it will not encrypt the data in that drive, so it will not be secure. So this is new drive, so I will go with the first option. I will say yes, next, and now it is saying choose which encryption mode to use. Now you have two modes here in Windows 10. New encryption mode, this is best for fixed drives on this device, and compatible mode is best for drives that can be moved from this device. That means if you are using the device which can be moved from the older versions of Windows also, that means you are using the drive in this Windows 10 new version, and also you want to use the same drive in Windows old version like Windows 10 old version or Windows 8 or Windows 7, then you have to use this compatible mode. But if you know that you're going to use it on the this drive only on this Windows, new Windows 10 version, then you can go for this one. So I will go for compatible, and this is start. Now it will take the time. It is completed very quickly because the drive is empty, but if the drive is full, then it will take the time accordingly. Now it is locked, but I can open it because it is now unlocked. Now if I reboot the system, then the drive will be locked. And to open the drive, I have to provide the password, or if I forgot the password, I have to provide the key. Now I rebooted the system. Now when I go to the drive, now you see the drive is now locked and it is not showing any information on the drive. Now when I try to unlock the drive, I double click on it and now it is asking the password. Now if I remember the password, I will type the password and it will unlock. Now if suppose I forgot the password, then what? I can recover it by using the recovery key. This recovery key is available here. I have saved the key here in this directory. This is the key. So when you open this, it is normal text file. And in this text file, you can see it says this is the BitLocker driver key, and the key identifier is this. Remember, this is the identifier and this is the original key. This identifier is to identify this key, because you may have encrypted lots of drives and lots of keys you may have. So you can identify the key by using this identifier. So you will see this identifier when you try to unlock the drive by using the recovery key. For example, I will try to unlock the drive from here. Now I want to unlock the drive. I don't know the password, so I'll go to more options. Now it says you want to enter the recovery key or automatically unlock on this PC. That means when you enter this, click, then it will unlock automatically whenever you restart the system. So I have a recovery key. I will click on this. Now you will see the identifier here. It says 5C3B92A7. So this is the identifier for the key. 5C3B92AC. So because this is the identifier, if your identifier is correct, then this is your key. Now I want to unlock it. So what I will do, I will go for more option, enter recovery key. Now by the identifier, I know what is the key, which key is the key for this drive. So I paste the key here and then I will say unlock. And now you can see it is unlocked. Otherwise you can just give the password and it will unlock. But still encrypt the C drive. This is operating system drive. And we can manage the BitLocker. If want to manage it, so we can right click here and we can go to now manage BitLocker. It is under the control panel. So under the control panel, security and system and security, you have BitLocker encryption option, where you can see these options. This is our C drive and this is the other drive. We can back up our recovery key also right now. We can change the password, remove the password, add the smart card, we can turn on the auto unlock, and we can also turn off the BitLocker. So if I want to turn off the BitLocker, I can turn off it from here. It is completed. And also if I want to enable the BitLocker, then I can turn on from here, and I can turn on from here also on C drive. Now I cannot do it on C drive because it is saying there is no TPM chip. Now if there is no TPM chip, I can enable this by using the group policy. Now this is not the domain, so there is no group policy object of the domain here, but we have local group policy. So we'll go to local group policy here by giving this gpedit command, gpedit.msc. Now under this local group policy, or even from the domain group policy, you can enable the policy so that you can use the BitLocker on operating system drive without using the TPM. So this is the policy you have to enable. You have to go to computer configuration, administrative templates. Under the system, you will see trusted platform module services, and under that you have to enable that policies, the policies which says so you have to go to computer configuration, administrative templates, system, and here you will see trusted platform module services. Now under this you have to look for the policy. Now which policy? You can see when you try to enable the BitLocker on C drive, it says that you have to enable this allow BitLocker without compatible policy. This is require additional authentication at startup policy. So you can check this policy in group policy. Configure the system to clear the TPM. If it is not in already state, configure the list of block TPM command. You have these different policies to configure. Configure the level of authentication information available for the operating system. Standard user lockout duration, individual lockout threshold, user lockout, system user legacy dictionary attack, and that. This is to manage the TPM configurations. And to enable on C drive, we have to go to Windows component, and under the BitLocker drive encryption, operating system drives, and here we have require the additional authentication at startup. So when you double click on this policy, require additional authentication at startup, so here we have option to enable it. Now when you enable it, so it will do what this policy settings allow you to configure whether BitLocker require additional authentication each time the computer starts, and whether you are using BitLocker with or without the trusted platform module. So I will enable the policy, and here it is saying allow BitLocker without a compatible TPM. You have to tick this. If it is not ticked, then it will not work. So this option has to be ticked. It says allow BitLocker without compatible TPM, and then you will say OK. Now after enabling this policy, we can use BitLocker, we can enable BitLocker on C drive. Now I will try to turn on the BitLocker on C drive, and now it is not giving me any error, and it is giving me option to enable the BitLocker. Now again, choose how you want to unlock your drive. So you can use insert USB drive, like you are not having TPM, then you can use the flash drive to unlock it, or you can use the password also. So every time you have to put the password, otherwise when you have a flash, then you connect the flash and it will start from there. It will not ask for password. Now I'm not having a flash, so I'll go for the password. Now it says your password must be meet the minimum length of requirement. So you have to give a proper complex password. It needs actually 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 big password. Now again it is saying where do you want to store the key. So you can store it on Microsoft account, USB flash, again save to file or recovery key, print out the key. I'll go with the save to file. Now remember, you don't have you should not save it under the same directory where your same drive where you which you are encrypting. So I will save it under the F drive and in this key directory. Okay, now because it is system drive, we have to reboot it to encrypt. So it says your computer must be restarted. So when you restart, it will start. And it says remove your DVD drive, DVD from the DVD drive to restart it. So if any DVD is inserted into your DVD drive, then you have to remove it. So I'll say eject. And now it is going to reboot and then it is going to encrypt the drive. Now it will take some time to encrypt. Now when you log in, then it will ask for the key. So recovering the BitLocker encryption drives, when a BitLocker enabled computer starts, so BitLocker checks the operating system for conditions that indicates a security risk, and if a condition is detected, BitLocker enters recovery mode and keeps the system drives locked. The user must enter the correct recovery password to continue. Then the BitLocker recovery password, a 48 digit password that unlocks the system in recovery mode and is a unique to a particular BitLocker encryption. So can be stored in ADDS. If it's stored in ADDS, you can search for it by using either the drive label or the computer's password. So you can store it in Active Directory if you are in the domain, and you can store it in any other file or user accounts also, Microsoft account also. Now you see, when our system starts, now it is asking for the key. It is asking for the password which I set. So if I give wrong password, my operating system will not start. If I store the key into USB drive, I don't have to give password. I connect the drive, it will start. Now if you forgot the password, it will shut down automatically. It waits for some time, then shut down. Now if you forget the password, then what? You can go for recovery key, and that is here. But I know the password, so I give the password and it is started. So this is BitLocker. We can secure the drive with the BitLocker normal drive and also operating system drive. Then the next thing is UAC. Configuring UAC. This UAC is a security feature that provides a way for users to elevate their status from the standard user account to an administrator account. So without having to sign out or switch user profile, UAC is a collection of features rather than just promote. These features such as file or registry redirection, installer redirection, the UAC prompt, and the ActiveX installer service allow Windows users to operate with user accounts that are not member of the administrator group, and this account, typically referred to as a standard user, are broadly described as operating system with least privilege. So the most important fact is that when users sign in with standard user account, the experience typically is much more secure and reliable. In Windows 10, fewer operating system applications tasks require evaluation than in older operating system. So this allows standard user to do more while experiencing fewer evaluation from. Additionally, it improves interaction with UAC while upholding the high security standards. So when you need to make changes to your computer that requires administrator level permission, UAC notifies you as follows. If you are an administrator, click yes to continue, and if you are not an administrator, someone with an administrator account on the computer must enter his or her password for you to continue. Simple. This user account UAC is do what? It provides the additional security for you. Like suppose if you want to do some administrative task, then you're an administrator, you have logged in as a normal user and you want to do some administrative task, then you can do it without logging out to this user and log back again to administrator account and then do the task. You can do it directly on that user account. It will ask you for the permission. Like if you're logged in as an administrator, then it will ask you for yes only. That means it will only notify you that this thing is going to be changed in the system. And if you are not an administrator, then it will ask you for the password of the administrator who has the permission to modify the system. So how it works in Windows 10, what happens when I performs the task that requires administrative permission? Standard users, UAC prompts the user for credentials that have administrative permission, and for administrator it just asks the permission. It says yes or no. And how we can configure this? So for configuring this, we can configure the notifications. So in Windows 10 we can configure UAC to notify you when changes are made to your computer. And to do this, go to Control Panel, System and Maintenance, and then under the Action Center we click the Change User Account Control. User Account Control, that means UAC. Settings. Use the slider to determine how Windows will prompt you. The default is notify me only when apps try to make changes to my computer. And this is the setting. So this is now we can see the C drive is encrypted by the BitLocker, and we can check the management. And this is what we can do: recover the key, change the password, remove and turn off the BitLocker. Now for user account control, we go to Control Panel, and from Control Panel we go to Security and Maintenance. I will go by the categories. Where is it? Security and Maintenance. Now under the Security and Maintenance we have User Account Control Settings. So when you click on it, it opens this. Now by default it sets on this notify me only when apps try to make changes to my computer. So whenever any apps try to change in your computer, it will do what? It will notify you. And if you are an administrator, it is just a notification. If you are not an administrator, then it will ask for the password of administrator. Now this is very good, when some viruses comes in your system, it tries to install softwares in your background and try to modify your system. So if this setting is there, then it will notify. You can see that whether something is doing some wrong thing or some wrong installations. You can reduce the level of security by using this slider. Now here it will notify me only when apps are trying to make changes to my computer. Do not dim my desktop. It will dim the desktop when it is this level. Dim the desktop, that means suppose for example I want to use I want to open CMD as administrator. Remember, I'm not logged in as an administrator. So when I try to do this, now you can see it is dimming the desktop. It is user account control, and it is asking the permission that if you are administrator, then it is asking the permission. Yes, now I can use the command line CMD administrator. Now if I set it to not dim it, it will do the same thing, but it will only not dim the desktop. Now see what happens when I try to open something as a administrator. PowerShell add admin. Now you see the window is coming, but the desktop is not dimming. So sometime you will not notice that something is happening in the background. So that's why it do what? It dim the desktop. Now you can level the security here. Now this means what? This level means never notify. So it will never notify you. It is just like disabling it. And you can go for more secure level. That will always notify when any apps try to change something, or if you change something in Windows settings. It always notify you. It can irritate sometime. This will do only notify when apps try to change, but if you try to change some setting, it will not notify. So this is the default option. And this is the user account control management. So this is our overview of security management in Windows 10.